Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the graveyard. And today I'm absolutely honored to bring you the Corpse Buster build. This is going to be a good one, so grab your popcorn, sit back, relax, and enjoy the Necromancy. This build in particular is something that I went back to the drawing board multiple times, went through about 500,000 gold worth of ink, scribing skills, just changing sets, left, right, center, up, down, what have you. And finally, I think I have mastered exactly what I was trying to achieve with this build, and that is to do everything as far as damage goes while reliably staying alive with resource management and keeping up with the current meta without using cheese. And I think you guys will be quite impressed, so stay tuned so you can dive into this awesome Necromancer PvP build. Without further ado, let's jump into our character sheet here. Front bar unbuffed, we are looking at about 4,300 spell damage. Nothing too crazy off the bat with recoveries, but of course our passives and of course along with our CP, this will go up pretty significantly, so don't be discouraged by that. Our spell resistance will also go up with our resistance flesh, but the important thing here to know is that the health recovery is much higher because we dropped Vampire. Vampire is no longer needed, and especially with this build, it's not going to hinder our abilities to maintain resource management is what I should say. And it's not going to hinder our the increased flame damage that you would normally take as a vampire. Necromancer benefits from not having to be vamp this patch because two skills in particular will give us the same amount of damage mitigation as Vampire does without having to have the increased costs and abilities and of course the increased damage from Flame. So pretty sweet that that's tied and built into the Necromancer's toolkit, and I will jump into that here in a second. 27 points into magic, 37 points into health. We are using the smoked bear haunch for all of those recoveries, and then the lever mundus for extra penetration. We are still running a high elf. I think high elf is still best in slot for a damage dealer as far as a magic spec goes, but whatever class you like, it's not going to make or break the build, but personally that's what I use on this, and I think that's what works best for me. Let's look at some buffed back bar stats here. Spell and physical resistance sitting just under 25k, and then like I said with resistance flesh, that will go up even higher depending on how much you heal. And then looking at our recoveries fully buffed up, let me grab a little corpse here for you. 1900 and 1600 on the front bar, and then of course just about the same, 1100 health recovery on both bars. So that will definitely, like I said, go up in CP, and of course any other passives that your teammates can give you as well. But respectively, the health recovery is pretty much higher than it used to be, and then our mag and stam recovery are sitting at a good spot as well. Front bar, if you noticed, I think it stayed the same. Still looking at 5,000 spell damage before our pot wore off, but I'm not going to hit another one because I don't want to waste them. I'll talk about the pots here in a second as well. But yeah, we're sitting at a really good spot as far as stats, recovery, and damage across the board. Jumping right into the skill sheet here, we're not going to waste any time. I don't want to have you guys just sit here and wait and listen to me talk, so let's just get started, shall we? Spirit Guardian, Mystic Siphon, Ghostly Embrace, Elemental Susceptibility, Blighted Blast Bones, Pestilent Colossus, Ravenous Goliath, Rapid Regen, Summoner's Armor, Mortal Coil, Resistant Flesh, and Healing Contingency. Spirit Guardian is going to be our main heal over time. This is going to give us 10% damage mitigation, and more importantly, it's going to drop a corpse when the skill ends. Mystic Siphon, this is going to be our primary corpse detonating skill. What this skill does, though, for those that don't know or that's new to Necromancer, it is free, doesn't cost us anything, so that's awesome right there off the bat. It does a pretty nice damage over time, so almost 25,000 over 20 seconds. But it's also going to give us Major Savagery, Major Prophecy while siphoning the corpse. Also, while siphoning the corpse, we're going to get 150 magic, stam, and health recovery. And then just by having it slotted, we increase all of our damage done by 3%. There's a lot of utility built into this skill, and it is free, doesn't cost anything, so it's a great thing to have on the front bar, so definitely try to incorporate that into your toolkit. Ghostly Embrace. One of the missing keys that I kind of went back to the drawing board and was just trying to figure out what exactly is missing before I released this build, and I think I found it. So Ghostly Embrace also does a lot of utility, and I will demonstrate that here. So what this does is it summons 3 circles on the ground, and let me zoom out here a little bit for you. So the first circle is going to snare the enemy. It's going to reduce their movement speed. The second circle in the middle, which is right here, that's going to immobilize anybody that's in there. And then the third circle, which is right at the end, that is going to be a hard CC. Now what's cool about this skill is that it just got buffed this patch with update 43. Now it's going to be doing AoE damage per circle. The minor main was always there, so that was nice, but the AoE can stack. So say you're in a battlegrounds or you're in Cyrodiil or whatever you're at when you're fighting multiple people. IC is another good example too. You can stack all 3 of these circles and they will get hit with every single effect in that tooltip here. So snared, immobilize, and CC, but they're also going to take the damage from each circle too. So that 3786, multiply that by 3, and then of course they're going to be CC2, allowing you to line up your burst. So it's an awesome skill. You don't necessarily have to spam it, and it still works in your benefit as long as you do the rotation, which I will demonstrate on the dummy over there, and you will see how to use it properly. Next up on the list, we have Elemental Susceptibility. Elisus is... it does some things here. So without going into our sets yet, I will basically say that this is going to be our spammable. And when I say spammable, I mean we are going to be weaving this in between all of our light attacks. So instead of Crushing Shock or Force Pulse or the Flame Skull or Venom Skull, whatever you're used to, you're going to replace that with Elemental Susceptibility. Now, I know that sounds silly, but this actually does a lot of damage when it's paired with a specific staff. And without giving that away, I'm sure you guys can already guess that, but when you do use this as a spammable, it actually does pretty significant damage. So in about 20 seconds, I am doing about 12,000 DPS. On the test dummy, I can kill the test dummy with 300,000 health in 20 seconds. I know that's not super impressive, but for a skill that usually doesn't do damage up front, at least that much damage, you're combining the damage over time that the staff is going to give you along with the status effects. So by using this as a spammable, you're actually doing quite a bit of damage. And it's free, so it's not going to be using any of your resources from any bar. And basically, you're going to have infinite sustain, because while you're weaving this, the only other skills that you're going to use that's going to cost resources are going to be your summons, which are going to be decreased because of our summoner's armor. And then our corpse siphoning skills are also free. So you can basically see where I'm going with this setup as far as why I am quite impressed and thrown back with the way that it's performing. Blighted Blast Bones only costs 826 stamina, but this is going to be our main primary burst skill, doing 15k disease damage up front and applying the major and minor defile status effects. So we're going to decrease their healing done by 18%. So yeah, it's a lot of burst damage built into one skill here, but the unfortunate thing is Blighted Blast Bones, you know, as everybody knows, it's not the most reliable burst skill, but it definitely does the job when it does work properly. Pestilent Colossus, this is a kind of a flex spot, and I say that because you're kind of forced to run this on this build, and that's only because Corpse Burster is a set that does increased damage per Gravelord ability that you have slotted. So I think it's 10%, so we have 1, 2, 3, that's 30% increased damage. You could replace this with something else if you'd like, however, it really is still a great ultimate. It's going to give you the major vulnerability, it does great damage, it's going to do really nice, it performs really nice when it's paired with Ghostly Embrace here. So it's not to say that it's a bad ultimate, but unfortunately you're kind of stuck using it to mid-max the build. But just wanted to throw that out there. If you do remove this for something else, you're going to lower your damage by 10%. Ravenous Goliath on the back bar, this is our oh shit button. This is basically, you know, if you're outnumbered and you're just taking a lot of incoming damage and you kind of just need that escape tool, you're going to want to pop this and you're going to get a bunch of health and then raise your health bar about 30,000. So in Battlegrounds, we're still sitting around 60,000 health, and you kind of do put a target on your back when you go into this form, but it is a good way to sit back, do a couple of heavies with the Resto staff, get a lot of healing in, kind of like reset the fight if you are able to kite with it. It does 90% of the time work, but there is that other 10% where you kind of just get killed immediately as soon as you go in here. Because like I said, once you pop this, everybody's going to focus you, and you know, it's kind of an RNG ultimate. Rapid Regeneration, this is going to do a lot of healing over 5 seconds, and doing the math along with the Resto passives, you actually get more healing out of this than you do with Resolving Vigor. I know that's kind of hard to believe, but when you are under 100% health, this does 50% more healing on top of the Restoration Staff passives, like the 5% increased healing with a Restoration Staff equipped, 30% more healing on yourself and allies under 20%. So all these multipliers added together, this does quite a bit of healing. And it's going to go with our back bar set. Summoner's Armor, this is going to decrease the cost of our summons, and it's going to give us our major and minor resolve. Also going to give us a corpse when this effect ends, and it's lasting 30 seconds now instead of 20, so that was a nice buff. Thank you, Zos. Mortal Coil, this is going to be another heal over time. It's going to give us a little resource, sustain, and then just by having it slotted, our healing done is increased by 3%. Not to mention it is free. Also, this is going to trigger our Corpse Burster. So having a siphoning skill on both bars, we are going to be able to do damage consistently and free. So, Resistant Flesh, this is our burst heal. This can also be used on allies too to kind of help them out. And then the resistance that you get from this is equal to half the amount healed. So if you do a 10k heal, you get 5k resistances for 3 seconds. Healing contingency, we are able to fit some scribing on the bar here, so I figured that the best thing to do is to just pretty much add more healing and then more sustain as well. So I got the burst heal on the suffix. I don't remember what the first is it Signature? Affix. I'm an idiot. It's right in front of my face. The affix is the burst heal. Our class script is going to be the signature script here. This is going to increase our max stats by 2% per corpse in a 12-meter radius up to 10 times. So if you happen to have a bunch of corpses laying on the ground, you can get about 20% stat boost increase. So pretty juicy overall. And then minor intellect and endurance goes a long way because we do unfortunately lack a little bit of sustain in where our sets are, but this kind of helps make up for that, and our pots will help out too. So those are the skills. Jumping into CP real quick, did take this out into IC, and it actually was quite surprising. I did really well with it. I'm not usually a CP guy. I like to stick into Battlegrounds because it's more challenging, faster paced. You know, being a full-time dad and whatnot, it's definitely more my game style that I prefer. So really excited to see that PvP is going to have a Battlegrounds update in update 44. So if you do go into CP, this is what I'm running. Fighting Finesse Force of Nature, Master at Arms, and Biting Aura. Force of Nature is going to go really well with our spammable, so keep that in mind. Red Tree, Celerity, Bastion, Pain's Refuge, and Boundless Vitality. Green Tree, Steed's Blessing, Gifted Rider, Liquid Efficiency, and Rationer. Alright guys, moment of truth. This is what everyone's waiting for. Jumping into our first set, you guessed it, Vatishran's Perfected Lightning Staff. So, the whole reason why our spammable is Elemental Susceptibility is because this bad boy right here, casting weakness to elements on a target within 15 meters causes a surge of energy to tether between you and the enemy. While the tether persists, they're going to take all of this damage, Flame, Frost, and Shock, every 1 second, which increases by 1% up to 20%. This effect can occur every 10 seconds, but since we are spamming this, we have pretty much 100% uptime. So if you're dueling or if you're focusing on one player, this will obviously just stay on them at all times. Even if the timer goes down and you recast this, you're just going to reapply the tether. So it's pretty nice. I'll demonstrate that here for you real quick. We'll just use LE Sus. We're not going to use any other skills, but we'll target them. We're going to keep spamming it with our light attacks, weaving them in and out. You can see the timer up there. And then it's going down now. And then we just reapplied it. It doesn't even break the tether. So we will constantly keep this on them, of course, while weaving our other skills in between. There might be a second or two where it is down, but you're definitely just going to reapply it as soon as that cooldown goes off. And when they see it on their death recap, it's pretty funny. So just on that Skelly dummy, we have almost 11.3k DPS just with one skill. Now, of course, that's also with light attack weaving too, but you got to keep in mind that this is a skill that costs us nothing, so it's going to be great for our sustain, and it does decent damage. So yeah, Vatishran's Perfected Lightning. The perfected version is going to give you that extra penetration. I highly suggest getting the perfected version because you're only going to benefit yourself more. Without it, you're going to lose that 1190 penetration. So, back bar, Maelstrom's Perfected Restoration Staff. So, with this equipped, that's why we have Rapid Regen slotted. So the perfected version is going to give you that 526 crit chance. That's really nice. Critical chance goes a long way with all of our healing. But when we use regeneration and we critically heal, we restore 558 magicka. This cannot occur from simultaneous critical strikes. So what that means is, say you pop this, you heal your friend, you heal that guy, and then you're able to pop it on yourself. While theirs are ticking and yours are ticking, you're only going to get one critical heal. So if he crit heals, say 3 times in a row, and this person crit heals, well, you're only going to get the magic return from the guy over here that you crit healed. Or say you're by yourself, you're healing, there's a crit heal, I'm getting 500. You're only going to get one, basically it's one cast. So the first time you cast it, whatever is in this rotation of that 5 seconds, you're only going to get the magic return from the critical healing. You're not going to be able to simultaneously just spam this on everybody and then just get all this magic back because everybody's critical healing. So I kind of see why it is like that. It would be a little broken if it wasn't, but I'm sorry, it would be broken if it was, but it still benefits us because it pops off more than you would think. Especially the lower health that we get, the more healing that we do. So this pops off quite a bit, and we are able to keep up our magic sustain, no problem. Alright, so Dagon's Dominion. We are not running a monster set on this build. We are running a 5-piece on the front, a 5-piece on the body, and 2 arena weapons. So, I'm sorry. 2 5-pieces on the body, so both of them are up at all times. Corpse Buster as well. Well, Corpse Burster, I'm sorry. The name of the build is the Corpse Buster, but the set here is called Corpse Burster. So if you hear me mixing the two, that's why. It's bad habit, so I apologize for that. But yeah, so Dagon's Dominion. This is going to give us a crap ton of weapon and spell damage, and then a little bit of stam too, which is always nice. And then at the bottom, the 5-piece tooltip here adds 492 weapon and spell damage to area of effect abilities. Now, some of you might be wondering, well, how does this benefit the build? Because there's a couple of things that you have to remember. Vadistran's Perfected Lightning Staff. So, yes, elemental susceptibility is single target. However, the nice thing about this tether, I'm going to bring my other guy over here just to demonstrate this. Come on, place it there. There we go. The nice thing about this is, say you're fighting this guy, and then somebody else jumps in. They're also going to take the damage from this tether, and Dagon's is going to boost the damage from this. Now, while you're weaving all of your other your skills in between them and whatnot, your corpses are also going to do AoE damage. So you are basically hitting everybody with all of your skills that do AoE damage. No matter where you are on the battlefield, everything is AoE. Oh, look at that, even on the back bar. See that? I just did a Mortal Coil. It's so stupid, dude. I love this build so much. Let's keep going. I don't want to get too carried away here. So, yeah, Dagon's Dominion, great set. That's going to pair really nicely with our Perfected Lightning Staff, and then of course Corpse Burster. You guessed it, that was the main sets that we were displaying and showcasing here, as you saw in the clips before the build. So what this is going to do is also give us a bunch of weapon and spell damage, a little bit of spell or critical chance across the board. And then the 5-piece here, which is probably now my favorite set in the game. Consuming a corpse causes the corpse to explode, dealing 8,000 magic damage to enemies within 5 meters, increasing the damage by 10% for each Gravelord ability slotted. This effect can occur once every 0.5 seconds and scales off the higher of your weapon and spell damage. So not only are they going to take all of that damage, but if they are hit by it, they're going to take Minor Breach too. So Minor Breach is going to reduce their physical and spell resistance by another basically 3,000. And the way that this build is set up is you are always going to be able to hit somebody with a corpse. People were really discouraged by that 5-meter radius, but let me show you something, okay? So you hit somebody with a Blast Bones, okay? You're going to come in and hit them with this Ghostly Embrace as that Blast Bones runs at them. So the way that you're going to time this, and you can spam this as much as you want to, because this is going to do damage. And while you have your tethers going, your sustain is just going to trickle up, and it's never going to really drop. So when you summon a Blast Bones, you're going to hit your Ghostly Embrace, and while they're stunned or immobilized or snared or whatever circle they happen to hit with this Ghostly Embrace, they're going to get stuck, and they're going to take that damage from the Corpse Burster. You can pretty much guarantee yourself getting that Corpse Burster to detonate, because every single one of these circles has different cooldowns. CC immunity is 7 seconds, immobilized immunity is 4 seconds, and then snared, I'm pretty sure you're just snared. Like, snared doesn't have an immunity. Like, you know, remove the snare and then you can apply the snare right back. It doesn't I don't think there's a cooldown on it. So no matter what, when you're hitting somebody with this, you're going to basically always apply some kind of effect that will reduce their movement in some type of way, allowing you to get off your Corpse Burster. So while you're doing your combo, you hit the Ghostly Embrace, and then boom! And then whatever other corpses may be lying around, you're going to be able to get that to go off, and anybody that's in that area basically is going to take that damage. It's a lot of fun, very aggressive. It's definitely a Necromancer feel, and it just works. And it's so satisfying to bring something to the table that is off meta and really does the job for the way that I like to play. So let's keep looking at the sets here. We are running 5 medium, 1 light, 1 heavy. I have the heavy on the cuirass, which is reinforced, and then light epaulets, and then the rest are medium. Just kind of a good mixture between well-fitted and in-pen. It doesn't have to be anything in particular. You could probably make all of this well-fitted just to benefit the roll dodge and sprint cost. And then the jewelry, I have the Corpse Burster rings and then the Dagon's amulets. You also notice that we are not running a mythic because, well, there's no room for it, for one. And 2, we have 2 arena weapons. So both of these weapons, fortunately, really work well together. This one being a free spammable and this one just doing awesome healing and giving us sustain back. So I thought, you know, what would happen if I just combined, you know, 2 pretty strong offensive sets and then kind of let my weapons take care of the sustain, and it worked out really well. So let that be what it is. Definitely try to give this a chance and tell me what you think. So yeah, that is the Corpse Burster. Well, I'm sorry, the Corpse Buster. See, I knew I would screw that up. Oh, what an outro. Come on, man. Let's see. What else did I miss? I went over the character sheet. I went over the skills. I went over the gear. Let's go over the pots here. So, pots are kind of, I don't know, to each their own type of thing. So what I was figuring out was I was really getting stressed out by the burst potential from Nightblades. So what I did was I went and made a mixture of stealth detection pots. My main go-to, obviously, here is going to give us our major sorcery buff, so that's where that's coming from. But it's also going to give us a boost in magic, magic recovery, and then that stealth detection by 43.5 meters for 15 seconds. That's pretty huge. So basically half the potion that's going to give you stealth detect, and then it's going to ruin any Nightblade's ability to basically gank you or even just do an attack from stealth. So you're benefiting yourself from that, and of course with all the AoE damage that you provide, you'll be able to pull them out of stealth too. If somebody, say, is cloaking away, you can kind of guess where they're running, and then you just hit this. That'll pull them out of stealth, CC them, immobilize them, snare them, whatever circle they happen to be in, and then, you know, hit your blast bones, of course, at the same time, and then try to tether them with your LA sus. It's really a fun build. It feels so strong in a way that I was kind of intimidated from releasing this in the first place, but I would never do that to you guys. If I showed something on stream, or if I definitely, you know, showed a build that looked really fun, of course I would share it with you. I would want this to get out there because Necro needs to be top tier. It needs to be S-class, or S-class. It needs to be S tier. It needs to rise to the top, and basically, you know, needs its turn in the spotlight. So I know this may not be it, but it's definitely a right step in the direction. With that being said, guys, give this a try. Join the Graveyard if you haven't already. I'm Avid Necro here on the Xbox NA. This is the Graveyard, part of the guild, the Army of the Dead. If you're interested, submit an application, personally message me on Discord, or join the Discord. I have that linked on my YouTube channel. Let's get together. Let's do Necro things. Peace out. Stay frosty. And I will see you in the Graveyard.